What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Huddle to Hardwood. My name is Jacob, and today we are going to be going through the South region predictions for March Madness.
Yeah. So the first game we got Florida versus either Prairie View or Lehigh at the 16 seed. And no, Lehigh does not have CJ McCollum.
I'm
So
going Lehigh, Lehigh, Lehigh. No, I got
yeah,
Florida.
I mean, I don't really care who comes out of that game in the play-in, and I'm going Florida. So
Yep,
not much to
agreed.
it. In the next game, we got the 8-9 with the Iowa Hawkeyes versus the Clemson Tigers.
So I will say I was actually genuinely surprised that Iowa made the tournament. I didn't really think they had crazy good wins this year. And I mean, they were the 9 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They lost to Ohio State, I believe, in the Big Ten tournament early on. So like they didn't really have anything to show, and I was actually genuinely surprised when they got in. But with that being said, looking at the stats that I have plugged in and just overall level of competition, I am going to take the Iowa Hawkeyes over Clemson.
Yeah, I think though I heard recently for Clemson that they are going to be without one of their best players for this game. I don't know Clemson that well, so I can't really give you a name on that one, but I think I just briefly heard that over a podcast or a post that I saw. Don't really know much about Clemson. When it comes to Iowa, they got Bennett Sturts, who was on the All Big Ten first team. He's a really fun player to watch. He kind of is that entire team essentially. Uh, I remember watching the Ohio State versus Iowa game, and they said that he's like in the last, I can't remember how many games I think it was, we're going to say 5 or 6 or something like that, that he only sat for like 5 minutes total. So he basically plays
Yeah.
the entire game. Lots and lots of mileage on his legs this season. But I mean, I like Bennett Sturts, and I think that Iowa just played more competition overall, like you said. I don't think there's much to it, so I agree. I'm going to go with the Iowa Hawkeyes.
One thing that does scare me looking at stuff, Clemson averages 34 rebounds a game and Iowa only averages 29. That kind of scares me. And one thing, these two teams are pretty bad, especially in their last 10 games. Clemson's won 4 of their last 10 and Iowa's won 3 of their last 10. So, I mean,
Iowa did have a really, didn't they have like a really tough like schedule at the end of the year? They were playing like good team after good team.
they
It was like Michigan and
Yeah, they
Nebraska.
played Maryland, Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Ohio State, who's hot. Penn State was their only easy game. Michigan, Nebraska, Maryland, and Ohio State, which I mean, Maryland's not that good, but I think they lost to Maryland in one of those matchups. So yeah, they did have a tough stretch going throughout the rest of the year, but I mean, so did Clemson. I mean, Virginia Tech is very good, but they played Duke, obviously number one overall team. So in their last 4 games, they played Duke and Carolina twice. So they lost to Duke once, lost to Carolina once, and then they actually beat Carolina
That was
by
their last 4 games, just playing those
no,
two
no,
teams.
it's for their last 10,
Oh, I
not
was like,
in a
dang,
row.
the
But
odds.
they played North Carolina and then Duke right after.
Okay.
So they have had not as tough a schedule as Iowa, but yeah, I think Iowa does win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game, and both teams are pretty bad, honestly.
All right, moving on to the next game. We got the 12 versus 5 matchup in this region. We got Vanderbilt, who just came off of a loss in the SEC Tournament Championship, versus the 12 seed McNeese. McNeese is, I think this is their third straight tournament making it. I think they've been a 12 seed all 3 years. I know they've been a consistent, upset pick a lot of the last couple years. I can't remember if they got one done the last 2 years or not. I think I picked them last year and they didn't end up getting it done. But Vanderbilt, like I mentioned in our West region kind of breakdown, I if they played a team like High Point, I think it would have been more amped to pick the 12 over the 5. But I think Vanderbilt's playing good right now. I don't know if their win over Florida is fluky or not, but I don't really know too much about McNeese. Like I knew a little bit more about High Point, but I'm just gonna go Vanderbilt over McNeese here.
Yeah, McNeese has been burning me the past couple years because I keep picking them. But with that being said, I'm picking McNeese. Give it to me again. I think Vanderbilt's too inconsistent. They definitely have the talent, but the inconsistency kind of scares me a little bit. McNeese has won their last 10 games, um, and I don't know if they've won even their winning streak even goes beyond that. Obviously, their competition isn't as great as Vanderbilt. But I think this is the year McNeese finally gets an upset, and I think it'd be against a good inconsistent team like Vanderbilt.
That's funny. Yeah, the year that I don't bet or don't pick them to win is when they're gonna win. Props to you for staying consistent. So
I don't care
honestly,
who they
I
play.
would I would be happy if McNeese got it, even though it doesn't go against or that goes against me. But
Yeah, I
um,
don't care who they play, but until they win a game, I will continue to pick them every
I think
year.
they got that team manager back with like the that he went viral that one year with like the
Yeah,
boom
last
box
year,
whatever. I think he came. I think he
Omar
came.
Khan, I think
Yeah.
his name.
So Omar Khan, is that what you
Yeah,
said? That's the
isn't that
Steelers
his name?
GM. That's the Steelers GM.
Okay. No, it's
It's not
something
probably
Khan.
something. I think it's Umar or something. Anyways, but yeah, hopefully McNeese can get the upset there. But moving on.
Sorry, wait, before we move on, it's Amir Aura Khan.
Oh,
His
okay.
name's Amir Khan, and then they call him Aura.
Oh, Aura. Okay. That's funny.
Sorry.
Um, yeah, moving on. We got the 4 versus 13 matchup. The Troy Trojans versus the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska has somehow yet to get an upset, or not an upset, yet to get a win in the Big Ten. Jeez, I can't speak in
Only
the
only
NCAA
power
tournament.
only Power Four school to not record a NCAA tournament win. 0 for
I,
8.
I will feel absolutely horrible for them if they had their best season in program history and they still cannot get and win a March Madness. This is the highest seed that they've ever had, I believe.
I think they
Um,
had a 3 seed in like 1990 something,
okay, so I mean, basically the
like at
highest
the
seed
time.
that they've ever had. So I mean, with that alone, I want to pick them. But like I said, they've had one of the best years that they've ever had, playing good. They've been kind of struggling as of late. I think after they lost their perfect season, started out 20-0 and they finished the regular season 26-6, I believe. So after they lost their undefeated season, they just kind of went 500 from then on. If you don't count their Big Ten tournament loss, but I'm hoping and I'm going to be rooting for them the hardest in this first round. So I'm going to take Nebraska over Troy.
Yeah, I think if Nebraska's going to finally win one, this year's the year. They got a good matchup against Troy. They have the talent to win. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna go with the Cornhuskers and be really cheering them on to win this game.
I was a little concerned there. I saw you over there going like this, like you were going to go, oh, I'm going
No,
Troy.
I mean I was thinking about it, but I just can't root against them. I have to hope they win.
Alrighty. And then we got the 6 versus 11 matchup. We got the UNC Tar Heels, who I like to call Unk. And then we got the VCU Rams, 11 versus 6. Just from watching videos and just listening to, the social media and all the just kind of fan perspectives, I think this is one of the most common picked upsets, I think, in the first round with VCU beating North Carolina. I don't think this would be a question if North Carolina still had Caleb Wilson. And they'd probably be, probably up to the 4 or the 5 line if they had Caleb Wilson for the last 10 or so games. But they've been kind of struggling as of late. They still have good players on their team like Henry Visar, and they got Seth Trimble on their team. They still have a lot of good, capable players. But I might just go with the grain here. It might change. This might be a game I go back and forth on. I did change it right before we record this video, but as of right now, I'm taking the VCU Rams and the upset against North Carolina to move on.
Yeah, I have VCU and I feel pretty strongly that they will win. Carolina's just kind of looked lost without Caleb Wilson on the floor. And I know they have Seth Trumbull, who's their senior guy, he's been playing pretty well for the season, but as a team, they just look lost. They don't have that go-to guy. Like Seth got a lot of shots created from Caleb Wilson being on the floor, and I just got to go with VCU in this game. Yeah.
All right. Moving on, we kind of got an interesting storyline in this one. We got the 3 versus the 14, Illinois versus Penn. Penn was not supposed to be here for the last couple weeks. It was projected to be Yale because they were the number one seed um, in the what do you call it? The Ivy League. But then Penn ended up hitting like a crazy, buzzer beater, I'm pretty sure, game winner to win that conference tournament. And funny enough, first year head coach at Penn, Fran McCaffrey, who used to coach Iowa for a number of years, now coaches that team and goes against a familiar opponent at Illinois and Brad Underwood. Similar to the High Point Wisconsin matchup, this is another game I'm smashing the over in because Fran McCaffrey is known to not have any defense. As long as he was at Iowa, Iowa was just strictly shooters on the floor. All they cared about was shooting and scoring the basketball, and they played no defense. Same goes for this Illinois team. They have great offensive firepower, but they have one of the worst defenses in the Big Ten and one of the worst in Power Five, honestly. So this is another game I'm smashing the over. I think it's gonna be really high scoring. I think it's gonna be high scoring with also an Illinois blowout. So give me Illinois probably about like 15 or 20, but I still think both teams are gonna score a lot of points.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Illinois. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. They just have so much talent on their team, and with Penn not even supposed to be in the tournament, I know this is what the Magic in March is supposed to be about, is teams like Penn that are taking spots and taking games that they shouldn't be, but I just don't think it's the case in this game. I think Illinois has too much manpower for Penn.
Right. Moving on to the 7-10 matchup, St. Mary's and Texas A&M. Um, I don't
Yeah,
know too much about Texas A&M. Sorry, you can go. I guess I'll just say real quick. I don't know too much about Texas A&M. St. Mary's, I have watched a couple of games of theirs. I do like. Um, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I just know that they do have a 2 guard or a 3 guard. That is a very capable scorer. I think he's their best player. From the few games that I watched, he's a really good, 3 level scorer. I think he had a number of good games against the competition in their conference this year. St. Mary's is a team that's usually around this seed line every year. But I'm going to take St. Mary's over Texas A&M.
yeah, also take St. Mary's, and there's some stats that I like over here. Like this impacts March, but free throw percentage, St. Mary's shoots 80% as a team.
Oh,
That is unheard of as a team, where Texas A&M shoots 73%. They held their opponents to only 65 points per game. Now their level of competition is a little questionable, so that could be why the line is so good. But regardless, holding a Division One team to under 65 points a game, pretty good in my opinion. And then yeah, looking at their last 10 games, they won 8 of their last 10 games, with one of the wins being against Gonzaga, and another one of the wins being against Santa Clara, who's also a tournament team, who's the 10 seed in the East, or not the East, we're the East, the other one with Michigan's bracket. But they're a tournament team, and yeah, I like St. Mary's overall for that matchup.
all right. Now, in the last game of the first round in the South. Yes, correct. The South, sorry. We got Houston versus 15 seed Idaho. This is another
Give
one of
me
those
the
games I'm not going to,
potatoes.
yeah, the potatoes. I'm not going to spend much time on it. I'm taking Houston over Idaho 100 times out of 100.
I will take Houston 99 and a half times out of 100. They're going to lose the first half in one of those games.
All right. Now we are moving on to the round of 32, where the first matchup we have the both of us have the 1 versus 9, Florida versus Iowa. I don't think Iowa has the size or just overall team that Florida has. They have a lot of returning players from their national championship winning team last year. A lot of experience, a lot of good transfers in as well. They've just been dominating most of the year, and I don't see Iowa competing with them whatsoever. So I have Florida winning this game.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I don't think Iowa should have been in the tournament to begin with, and I think that This is where their tournament ends. Um, Florida is really good team, especially in the front court. Their bigs are playing crazy, and
Probably
it's
have the
kind of
best back front court in the
yeah,
country.
it's kind of weird to think about. I saw this in a video. Um, Last year, Florida's biggest strength was their backcourt, and this year their biggest strength is their front court. So it kind of flip-flopped. I did mention in a different video that this is a guards tournament. Guards tend to flourish in the tournament. However, Florida and their big men are still going to take them far, in my
And
opinion.
they do have capable guards too. So
Yeah, they definitely do, but their bigs are definitely like the meat and potatoes. of
um the meat in Idaho's. So yeah, next. So this is where we have different matchup than each other. You have McNeese versus Nebraska, and then I have Vanderbilt versus Nebraska. So I guess I'll let you talk about McNeese versus Nebraska first.
Yeah, so I did have McNeese pulling off an upset against Vanderbilt, and I mean they've won their last 10 games. I think they're an all-around solid team. I mean, they hold their opponents to less than 70 points a game, which Nebraska does as well. But I mean, it's going to be a low-scoring game. And yeah, I don't know, Nebraska's strength of schedule and the talent they have makes me like them. However, not enough. Give me McNeese!
Oh
Give me
my God,
McNeese to the
bro.
Sweet 16.
You're trolling, bro.
McNeese to the Sweet 16. They're gonna do it this year. Nebraska's gonna have another, they're gonna have a fluke against Troy and win and get their first ever tournament victory just to put up a stinker against McNeese and go home. Back
Jacob's
to
doing
Lake.
this. Jacob's doing this for clicks, man. Ain't no way.
Nope, give me
He's cat.
McNeese.
All right then. So I got Vanderbilt versus Nebraska. And unfortunately, this is where I have the Cornhuskers season coming to an end. Um, I think Vanderbilt, even though they've been playing inconsistent lately, I might change my pick with Vanderbilt and some other brackets here. But for this one in particular, I'm taking Vanderbilt. They have two good guards in Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles, who have pretty much been running that team. I've been talking about guard play on the tournament, and I think those are two very capable guards, and I think they're going to move on to the Sweet 16 to get a rematch versus Florida. Next matchup, I believe we both have VCU versus Illinois, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this one, I don't. This is where VCU's one game run kind of comes to an end for me. I think Illinois just got too much offensive firepower. And other than that, I just think Illinois is going to move on to the next round here.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked VCU in that first round, and looking at this, I agree. Illinois has too much firepower. I mean, they average 84 points per game while shooting 35% from three. But one thing that really sticks out to me is it's been noted that Illinois has bad defense, but VCU gives up 72 points per game or 71 points per game in a weaker conference. And even though I think they beat North Carolina and they have a special game, I don't think that special stuff continues, and I think Illinois' offense and firepower outwills their 71 point per game defense.
Alrighty. And then we got St. Mary's versus Houston. I don't really need to go too much into this one either. I think St. Mary's is a solid team, but I don't think they're nearly good enough to take down a Houston team who was one of the best teams in the hardest conference this year. I think Houston's very good all around. They have a very dynamic freshman. Kingston Flemings has been balling out all year. On top of, they just have a good overall team experienced two guard, a really good shooter in Emmanuel Sharp. Got a lot of returners, Miles Uzan. They got a lot of returners from their national championship appearance last year. They're just very experienced, and I have them moving on to Sweet 16.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a game at all. I think Houston really beats the snot out of St. Mary's. They have three super experienced players. I believe they're all guards from what I was reading. But yeah, this Houston team is going to be really tough to beat. And yeah, I think they crush St. Mary's.
All right, moving on to the Sweet 16. I have Florida versus Vanderbilt, and you have Florida versus McNeese. So just based off of that matchup, I'll just let it go to you real quick because if you have McNeese beating Florida, you have a problem.
I have McNeese's special run coming to an end here against Florida. Like I said, Florida's bigs are really good, and I don't think McNeese will be able to compete.
Alrighty, and then yeah, I got Florida versus Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt just recently beat Florida in the Big Ten, or not, sorry, I'm a Big Ten guy. The SEC tournament semifinal. They beat them pretty bad. They beat them by like 20, I'm pretty sure. Um, I really don't know how accurate or non-fluky that was. I really don't see that happening again, especially on a big stage like the March Madness Sweet 16, especially with the defending national champions. They have multiple players returning from that team, and I just think that they're going to overpower Vanderbilt, and I don't see that. I think they're going to be coming into that game mad because of the way that they played them last time. I think Florida is going to win this game and by at least like 15 points or so. So I'm going to take Florida moving on to the Elite Eight for the second straight year. And then we have a really good matchup. In this one, we got Illinois versus Houston in the Sweet 16. So I'll let you talk about that one first.
Yeah, so I think Houston's gonna win, but not only win, I think they're gonna win by about 12 points or more. I think that their defense is elite, and that's kind of been a thing for Kelvin Sampson. His teams are always super great defensive teams. I remember before they moved to the Big 12, I would consistently pick them to go far in the tournament just based on their defense alone, and it's continued to be a thing. They're averaging in the toughest conference in college basketball, they're holding opponents to under 62 points per game
Oh,
or under
wow.
63 points per game. And we see Illinois, who
And they
for
have a
one
better
doesn't,
offense now. So they're
yeah,
just,
we see Illinois, who not only doesn't have a defense, but their players that are pretty good offensively tend to not show up during the biggest games. And I think they have one of those games where they really struggle and their players just don't show up. And I think Houston moves easily to the Elite Eight, getting a rematch from the national championship of last year.
yeah. So I do also have Houston winning this game. I think it's going to be a really intriguing matchup, regardless of the outcome. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if Houston wins this game by double digits, but just for pure entertainment sake, I'm hoping it's a closer game. I think it will be a closer game, but I think it's going to be a really fun matchup to watch between two star freshman guards and Kingston Flemings and Keaton Wagler. Both of them have made a huge name for themselves, kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think either of them were really necessarily expected to be like these one and done lottery picks, and they've both just made a name for themselves. So I think that'll be a really fun matchup to watch. Maybe whoever plays better in this game ends up getting drafted higher than the other. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think that'll be a fun matchup. I like your point about Houston always being a really good defensive team and Illinois not being so. And I think what's held Houston back in the past from, getting over that hump is having a really good defense, but there's not quite that consistent of an offense to get them over the hump. But I think this year, excuse me, I think this year that their offense is, neck and neck relatively with how good their defense is. And I think that makes them a scarier and a better team, in my opinion, than they were last year. So I do have Houston moving on to get that national championship rematch in the Elite Eight. Um, so yeah, we got a fun matchup for both of us. We have the same Elite Eight matchup. Got Florida versus Houston. But yeah, I'll let you go into this one.
Yeah, so Houston and Florida are kind of opposite teams in terms of what they're known for. Um, Florida offensively, absolute powerhouse, average 87 points per game. SEC wasn't that great this year, but there's still some decent competition there. So it's going to be the classic offense versus defensive matchup. I mean, Florida gives up 72 points per game. And I mean, in my opinion, in typically, I think when it comes to games like this, defense wins championships, and defense is what comes out because you can have a bad shooting night, but your defense could still be there. And with that being said, I think Houston gets their revenge against Florida. I think they advance to the Final Four for the second year in a row, just solely based on their defense alone. So
Yeah, don't hate that pick at all. But I will be going in the opposite direction. I'm going to take Florida in this game to move on to the Final Four. Um, Defending national champions. I think they have a lot of returning talent. Brought in a bunch of new good players. They've been hot for the last half of the season, other than losing in their conference tournament. I think they have a lot of offensive firepower as well. And I mean, I think this will be a really, really good game, really down to the wire. I could see either team winning this game. I very well could switch this in one of those games I could switch back and forth with. Back and forth with. I very well could have Houston by the time we have to submit these brackets. But for now, I'm just going to say I'm going to pick Florida to move on to the Final Four. So,
I will say I do think this is going to be a close game. I will definitely have some brackets with Florida going to the Final Four and even going back to back because one thing, this doesn't really mean it's going to happen or necessarily correlate. But when the state of Florida wins a championship in sports, they tend to do it in twos. You look at the Dolphins. If you look at the Dolphins in this 72 and 73 Super Bowl back to back, you look at the Miami Heat who went back to back in 2012 and 2013. You got the Miami Hurricanes who I think went back to back in 2000 and 2001. And then you have the Florida Gators who went back to back in '06 and '07 in basketball. And
wow.
then you have the Florida Panthers who just went back to back in the Stanley Cup. So when the state of Florida
That's crazy. I didn't even think
yeah,
about
so
that.
when the state of Florida wins championships, they tend to do it in twos and doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I just find that's a very interesting
So are you
statistic.
switching your pick to Florida
In a different bracket I am, but in this
then?
bracket I'm keeping it Houston.
You just made my pick that much more convincing. So I like my pick now that you said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that will do it. So yeah, so far out of the two regions that we gone through right now, I have Florida in the Final Four along with Arizona, and I Jacob has Arizona and Houston. So far we just have one different from each other, but we got two more regions left. But other than that, thank you guys for watching this video, and you guys will see us in the next two. Other than that, go green.
So what